My name is Eva, and I need to tell you about the worst trip of my life. It all started when my family decided to go camping in the mountains in the next state over. I was 30 years old at the time, and honestly, I should have known better than to trust my brother-in-law David with planning anything. Let me tell you about my family first. There's my parents, who have always been the type to play favorites. Then there's my older sister Dana, who's been the golden child since day one. She married David 3 years ago, and he acts like he knows everything about everything. Me? I'm just the younger sister who apparently exists to make everyone else's life easier. Growing up, Dana always got the best of everything. While she was getting brand new iPhones and designer clothes, I was stuck with her hand-me-downs. When it came to education, my parents spent thousands on private school and a fancy college for Dana. Me? I went to public school and had to work my way through a state college. That's just how things were in our house. The funny thing is, despite all that, I turned out pretty well for myself. By 30, I owned 2 apartments. I bought my first one at 25 with money I inherited from my grandmother. Dana used her inheritance money for some crazy expensive wedding, but I was smart about it. I got a mortgage, worked hard, lived cheap, and paid it off fast. Then I bought a second place, a nice big apartment in the good part of town. My parents have always needed help with money, so I've been sending them $800 every month for years now. It's not like they ever asked Dana for help, even though she and David live in my old apartment rent-free. Yeah, you heard that right. My mom convinced me to let them stay there because they were having financial troubles. I was planning to rent it out to help pay for my new place, but family comes first, right? So anyway, David comes up with this brilliant idea for a family camping trip. He says he's been to these mountains before and knows all the good spots. He tells us he'll organize everything and that he has friends who can help. My parents were excited about it, and Dana was all over the idea because David was taking charge. Trust me, David kept saying, I've got this all figured out. We don't need some expensive guide. I know these trails like the back of my hand. The plan was simple. David hired some local driver to take us from our hotel to the start of a hiking trail. The same guy would come back 6 hours later to pick us up at the end of the route. Easy, right? What could go wrong? We got up super early that morning. I remember feeling weird about the whole thing, but I kept my mouth shut. David was acting like he was some kind of mountain expert, showing us his fancy hiking gear and talking about all the amazing views we were going to see. There's this waterfall, he told us while we were eating breakfast at the hotel. It's incredible. Most tourists never find it because you have to know the secret path. Dana was hanging on his every word like he was some kind of wilderness guru. My parents were nodding along, completely trusting him. I just drank my coffee and hoped for the best. The driver picked us up right on time. He was this quiet local guy who didn't say much during the ride up to the trailhead. I noticed he kept looking at David funny when David was telling him about our route, but the guy just shrugged and dropped us off. See you in 6 hours, the driver said as he pulled away. And that's when our adventure began. David took the lead, walking ahead of us with his big hiking backpack and his fancy walking stick. He kept pointing out different things along the trail, acting like a tour guide. See that rock formation over there, he'd say. That's a perfect example of limestone erosion. We walked pretty slowly, which was fine by me. My parents aren't exactly young anymore, and they needed to take breaks. Dana kept taking pictures of everything with her expensive camera. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. The trail was actually pretty nice at first. The weather was perfect, not too hot, and there was a nice breeze. We saw some cool birds and even a deer that ran away as soon as it spotted us. For a while, I thought maybe David actually knew what he was doing. About 2 hours in, we came to this river crossing. It wasn't a big river, but the rocks were wet and slippery from the morning mist. David went first, hopping from rock to rock like he'd done it a million times. Just follow my path, he called back to us, these rocks are stable. My parents went next, moving real slow and careful. They made it across fine. Then it was Dana's turn. She started out okay, but about halfway across, I saw her wobble. "Oh no," she said, and I could hear the panic in her voice. "Help." Without thinking, I rushed right into the water to help her. I managed to grab Dana and pull her toward the shore, but as I was helping her up, I lost my footing on the slippery rocks. I went down hard, and I felt something crack in my leg. The pain was incredible. I found myself sitting in the freezing cold water, and I couldn't move. The pain in my leg was so bad I could barely think straight. "Help me," I shouted to my family. "I think I broke my leg." But instead of rushing to help, my parents just stood there looking annoyed. "Stop pretending, Eva," my dad said, "just get up and walk." "I can't walk," I said, trying not to cry from the pain. "My leg really hurts." My mom rolled her eyes. "Here we go again. Eva always likes to dramatize everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was sitting in freezing water with what felt like a broken leg, and they thought I was making it up. Then I heard them start talking among themselves like I wasn't even there. "I'm not dragging her," David said. "We don't have time for this. The car's coming back for us, and we still have time to see the waterfall and those other spots I told you about." I managed to crawl out of the water, soaking wet and shivering. "Please don't leave me," I begged. "I really can't walk." That's when Dana came over and grabbed my leg, probably trying to check what was wrong. I screamed so loud from the pain that birds flew out of the trees. "See," Dana said with this smug look on her face, "she just wants attention. It's probably just a little sprain or something, nothing serious." Then she actually smiled at me. "You better keep up with us, Eva. We're not waiting around. Hurry up or we're leaving without you." David shrugged. "I guess I could carry your backpack if that helps." I couldn't believe this was happening. "Please don't leave me here," I shouted as they started walking away. But they did. They actually left me there, sitting by that river, hurt and alone. They took my backpack with them, which had my water, food, and phone. Everything I needed to survive. I sat there in shock, watching them disappear down the trail. It wasn't until they were completely out of sight that I realized what had really just happened. My own family had abandoned me in the mountains with a broken leg. I sat there by that river for what felt like forever, trying to process what had just happened. The cold water had soaked through my clothes, and I was starting to shiver uncontrollably. I knew I had to move or I was going to die out there. I looked around and found a thick stick near the riverbank. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to do. I used it to pull myself up, and the pain in my leg was so bad I almost passed out. But I had to keep going. Using the stick as a crutch, I started hobbling down the trail in the direction my family had gone. Every step was agony. My leg felt like it was on fire, and I had to stop every few minutes to catch my breath. But I kept thinking maybe they'd come back for me. Maybe David would realize how stupid this was and turn around. I walked like that for about an hour, going as fast as I could manage. Then my stick snapped in half. I went down hard, landing on my hands and knees on the rocky trail. The pain was so intense I actually threw up. That's when I started crawling. I'm not proud of it, but I crawled on my hands and knees like an animal, dragging my broken leg behind me. My hands got all cut up from the rocks, and my knees were bleeding through my pants. But I kept going because what else could I do? I found another stick after crawling for what felt like miles. This one was stronger, and I managed to get back on my feet. The whole time I was thinking that surely someone from my family would call for help. Surely they wouldn't just leave me to die out there. But no help came, nobody came back for me. As I was struggling to walk with my makeshift crutch, my mind started wandering to all the times my family had treated me like I didn't matter. I remembered when I was 14 and had this terrible stomach pain. I told my parents it hurt really bad, but they just said I was being dramatic. "Eva's fine," my mom had said, "she just wants attention because Dana got a new laptop." The next day, I collapsed at school and had to be rushed to the hospital for emergency appendix surgery. The doctor said if they'd waited another few hours, it could have killed me. But did my parents apologize? No. They just said I should have explained better how much it hurt. That was the story of my life. Dana gets the attention, the money, the fancy things, and I get told I'm being dramatic. Even when I was literally dying, they didn't believe me. I kept walking, or hobbling, or crawling when I had to. The sun was getting lower in the sky, and I was starting to panic. I had no idea how long I'd been walking. My leg was swollen up like a balloon now, and it was turning purple and blue. I thought about all those monthly payments I'd been making to my parents. $800 every month for years. I thought about Dana and David living in my apartment for free while I struggled to pay 2 mortgages. I thought about how I always got Dana's old clothes and old phones while she got everything new. The anger actually helped me keep going. I was so mad I wanted to scream, but I needed to save my energy for walking. Every time I wanted to give up, I'd think about Dana's smug face when she said I was just looking for attention. The trail seemed to go on forever. It was getting dark when I finally saw the highway through the trees. I had never been so happy to see a road in my life. I stumbled out of the forest and collapsed on the shoulder, waving at every car that passed. Most of them just drove by. Finally, this pickup truck pulled over. A guy in a park ranger uniform got out and ran over to me. "Jesus, what happened to you?" he said, kneeling down next to me. "I fell," I managed to say. "I think my leg is broken, my family left me." He looked at my leg and his face got real serious. "We need to get you to a hospital right now." "How long have you been walking on this?" "I don't know," I said, "all day, since this morning." The ranger helped me into his truck, and I started crying. Not from the pain, but from relief that someone finally believed me. Someone finally cared that I was hurt. "You've been walking on a broken leg all day," he said as we drove to the hospital. "That's incredible, most people would have given up." At the hospital, they took x-rays and confirmed what I already knew. My leg was broken in 2 places. The doctor said I was lucky I hadn't damaged it worse by walking on it for so long. "You should never have been able to walk on this," the doctor told me. "This is a serious fracture. You could have caused permanent damage." He said I needed surgery and would be in a cast for months. They gave me pain medication and crutches, and told me I had to stay off my feet completely for at least 6 weeks. It was almost midnight when I finally got back to the hotel in a taxi. Thank God I had some cash in my pocket, because everything else was still with my family. I had no idea where they were or if they even knew I was missing. When I got to my room, I found my backpack just thrown on the floor like garbage. They hadn't even bothered to put it on the bed or the chair. Just dumped it on the floor like it didn't matter. That's when I knew for sure that they didn't care about me at all. The first thing I did was rebook my flight home. I didn't want to spend another minute in that place. I was so angry and hurt that my hands were shaking as I typed on my phone. The earliest flight I could get was the next morning, and I grabbed it without thinking about the extra cost. I packed my stuff as best I could with my busted leg and crutches. Everything hurt, but I was determined to get out of there before my family came back. I didn't want to see their faces or hear their excuses. I checked out of the hotel at 6 in the morning and took a taxi straight to the airport. The whole time I kept expecting my phone to ring with someone asking where I was, but it stayed silent. They still had no idea I was gone. The flight home was terrible. My leg was throbbing the whole time, and I couldn't get comfortable in the airplane seat. But I was glad to be getting away from that nightmare. I spent the whole flight thinking about what I was going to do when I got home. By the time I landed, I had made up my mind. I was done being the family doormat. I was done sending money to people who didn't give a damn about me. I was done letting Dana and David live in my apartment for free while they treated me like garbage. The first thing I did when I got home was open my laptop and log into my bank account. I found the automatic transfer that sent $800 to my parents every month and canceled it. Just like that. No more free money for people who left me to die in the mountains. Then I started thinking about Dana and David. They were still on vacation for another week, living it up while I was home with a broken leg. They had been living in my old apartment for over a year, paying nothing, saving money while I struggled with 2 mortgage payments. I called my old friend Marcus, who works as a locksmith. We went to high school together, and he's always been reliable. "Eva, hey, how's it going?" he said when he answered. "I need a favor, Marcus, can you change the locks on my apartment? The one on Oak Street." "Sure, no problem, when do you need it done?" "As soon as possible, today if you can manage it." Marcus came over that afternoon and took my old keys. He said he'd have new locks installed by tomorrow and would bring me the new keys. I didn't tell him why I needed it done, and he didn't ask. That's why I like Marcus. The next day he showed up with a whole set of new keys. "All done," he said, "nobody's getting in there without these." "Thanks, Marcus, I owe you one." "Don't worry about it, just take care of that leg." For 2 whole days, nobody from my family even noticed I was gone. 2 days. I was sitting at home with a broken leg, and they were so busy having fun that they didn't even think about me. Finally, on the 3rd day, I got a text from my mom, "Eva, where have you gone?" That was it, no concern, no apology, just "where have you gone?" like I was a lost dog or something. I texted back, "I'm at home." She replied, "Okay." That was the whole conversation. No asking if I was hurt, no asking why I left, nothing, just okay. It told me everything I needed to know about how much they cared. A couple more days passed, and I decided it was time to get my stuff out of the old apartment. I called a moving company and arranged for them to come help me. Even though my leg was killing me, I put on my best clothes and got my crutches, because I had work to do. When we got to the apartment, I used my new keys to let us in. Most of my stuff was still there, but Dana and David had left some of their clothes and personal items scattered around. I wasn't about to be nice about it. I got some big garbage bags and threw all their clothes in them. Their fancy shirts, Dana's expensive dresses, David's hiking gear, all of it went into trash bags like the garbage they were. The movers loaded everything into their truck, including the bags of Dana and David's stuff. Then I had them follow me to my parents' house. I still had keys to their place, but I wasn't going to be polite and put the stuff inside. I remembered how they had just thrown my backpack on the hotel room floor, not caring if my things got damaged. "Just dump everything in the garage," I told the movers. They looked at me funny, but they did what I asked. All of Dana and David's belongings, including their clothes, got dumped in a pile on the concrete floor of my parents' garage. Let them figure out what was theirs and what wasn't. My leg was hurting really bad by then because I was supposed to be resting it, but I took some painkillers and pushed through. I had to get this done before they came back from their trip. I also called my boss and explained what had happened. I told him I broke my leg and would need to work from home for a while. Luckily, my job was the kind where I could do most of it remotely. I had projects to manage and could do video calls with clients and my team. "Take all the time you need to heal," my boss said, "we'll make it work." At least someone cared about my well-being. After that, I finally went home and rested like the doctor had told me to. I put my leg up and took my pain medication and waited. I knew it was only a matter of time before my family came back and discovered what I had done. I didn't have to wait long. A few days later, my phone started ringing like crazy. Dana was calling over and over, then David, then my parents. I ignored every single call. They left angry voicemails, but I didn't listen to them. Finally, Dana and David showed up at my door. When I opened it on my crutches, they pushed their way into my apartment without being invited. "What the hell, Eva?" Dana shouted, "why can't we get into our apartment?" "It's not your apartment," I said calmly, "it's mine, I evicted you. All your stuff is in Mom and Dad's garage." That's when they finally noticed my leg in the cast and the crutches. "Oh my God," David said, "you're still pretending to be hurt?" Dana rolled her eyes, "This is all just a performance because you're jealous of our relationship. You kicked us out because you can't stand that we're happy." I couldn't believe they were still acting like my broken leg was fake. "I'm not pretending anything," I said. "You left me to crawl through the mountains for 8 hours until a ranger picked me up on the highway. I spent the night in the hospital getting x-rays and surgery." "You're such a drama queen," Dana said. "Nothing was wrong with you. You just wanted attention." "And you're such a selfish bastard," I said back. "You threw my backpack on the floor like garbage and didn't even ask if I was okay." They started yelling at me then, calling me names and saying I was being cruel and vindictive. But I just stood there on my crutches and took it. "Fine," I said, cutting them off mid-rant. "If you want to keep calling this a performance, then I'll keep playing the victim. But you need to find somewhere else to live, and don't expect any more money from me. Ever." Dana's face went red. "You can't do this to us, we don't have anywhere to go." "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "You should have thought about that before you left me to die in the mountains." "We didn't leave you to die," David shouted. "You were being dramatic like always." "Get out of my apartment," I said, "now." They kept yelling and making threats, but I just pointed toward the door with one of my crutches. Eventually they left, still screaming about how unfair I was being. After they were gone, I blocked all their phone numbers. I blocked my parents too. I was done dealing with any of them. But that wasn't the end of it. Over the next few days, other family members started calling me. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all telling me I was being cruel and selfish for abandoning my poor parents and sister. "How could you kick Dana out?" my Aunt Carol said. "She's your sister." "She left me with a broken leg in the mountains," I replied. "I'm sure it wasn't that bad," Carol said. "You know how you can be dramatic." I hung up on her. I hung up on all of them. It was like the whole family had decided I was the bad guy for not letting people walk all over me anymore. My parents tried a few more times to contact me. They sent cards, they had other people call me, they even tried showing up at my door once. But I didn't answer. I was done with all of them. The funniest thing happened 2 months later. It was my birthday, and a delivery guy showed up with a present from my parents. Some expensive perfume that was probably meant to make me forgive them. But I wasn't interested in their guilt gifts. I had the delivery guy take it right back. I wrote "return to sender" on the box and sent it back to them. If they wanted to waste their money on presents I didn't want, that was their choice. During those 2 months while my leg was healing, I had a lot of time to think about my life and my family. I realized that I had been letting them treat me like garbage for 30 years. I had been the family ATM, the backup plan, the one who was supposed to just take whatever they dished out and be grateful. Well, I was done being grateful. I was done being their safety net while they treated me like I didn't matter. When I could finally walk normally again, the first thing I did was call a cleaning company to go clean out my old apartment. Dana and David had left it pretty messy, and I wanted it spotless before I found new renters. The cleaning crew did an amazing job. They shampooed the carpets, scrubbed the walls, cleaned all the windows. When they were done, the place looked better than it had in years. Then I put an ad online for renters. I had people calling within hours. The rental market was really good in my area, and I was able to find a nice young couple who agreed to pay top dollar for the place. Having that rental income made a huge difference. Instead of sending $800 to my parents every month, I was getting $1,200 from my renters. That extra money meant I could pay off my mortgage on my nice apartment way faster than I had planned. It's been over a year now since that awful camping trip. My leg healed up perfectly, and the doctors said I shouldn't have any long-term problems from it. I still have a small scar where they did the surgery, but it's not noticeable unless you're looking for it. My family has tried to contact me a few more times, but I ignore them completely. I heard through some mutual friends that Dana and David had to move in with his parents, which apparently isn't going well. My parents are struggling financially without my monthly payments, but that's not my problem anymore. I'm doing better than I ever have. My job is going great, and I got a promotion last month that came with a nice raise. I'm on track to pay off my mortgage 3 years early, which means I'll own my apartment free and clear before I turn 35. I've also been dating someone new. His name is Ryan, and he's nothing like the guys I used to date. He actually listens when I talk, and he treats me like I matter. When I told him about what happened with my family, he was horrified. Ryan understands why I cut them off. He says anyone who would abandon family like that doesn't deserve to be in my life. It's nice to be with someone who actually supports me instead of treating me like I'm being dramatic all the time. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh with my family. But then I remember sitting in that freezing river water, begging them not to leave me, and I know I made the right choice. They showed me who they really were that day, and I finally listened. I'm not angry anymore. I was furious for months, but that anger eventually faded into something more like indifference. They're just not part of my life anymore, and I'm okay with that. My life is peaceful now. I work, I spend time with Ryan, I hang out with friends who actually care about me. I travel when I want to, I buy things I like without worrying about sending money to people who don't appreciate it. The funny thing is, I'm probably happier now than I've ever been. It turns out that cutting toxic people out of your life, even when they're family, can be the best thing you ever do for yourself. I own my apartment, I have a great job, I'm in a healthy relationship, and I don't have to deal with people who treat me like garbage. That sounds like a pretty good life to me.